It's Christmas. It's supposed to be the one day, the one single day where the machinery stops, where the country takes a collective breath, right? But no, not in this timeline. While most of the country was opening presents or trying to figure out how to talk to their uncle without starting a shouting match, the president was busy, and I don't mean checking the polls busy, I mean a systematic 100-post-long digital scorched earth campaign. A manifesto, that's what it was. Let's call it what it is because social media activity doesn't cover the scale of the absolute mania we just witnessed. 100 posts. 100 in 24 hours. I'm sitting here looking at the timestamps and I'm genuinely trying to wrap my head around the logistics of it. You have to be physically tethered to a device to output that much vitriol in a single holiday cycle. And it wasn't just the usual grievances. It wasn't just the happy holidays to the haters and losers variety of noise we've grown accustomed to over the last decade. This was different. This felt like a pivot. It was dark. It was focused. It was a roadmap for a version of 2026 that should honestly keep you awake at night. He's talking about dead terrorists in Nigeria with a level of, festive glee. Merry Christmas to all, including the dead terrorists. He actually typed that. He hit send on that. We're talking about U.S. airstrikes being announced, not through a formal briefing, not through the Pentagon, but as a secondary thought to a holiday greeting. It's the normalization of the extreme. It's the idea that high-level military intervention is just another piece of content to be consumed between attacks on the radical left scum and resharing conspiracy theories that have been debunked so many times they're basically ghosts at this point.
And the language, my God, the language, it's getting sharper, it's getting more jagged. He's not just campaigning anymore, he's presiding over a digital battlefield. He's talking about the country being destroyed by vermin and scum. His words, not mine, and he's doing it while the rest of us are trying to have a moment of peace. It's a deliberate strategy to ensure that there is no peace, because if there's peace, you might actually stop and realize how chaotic this really is. If the noise stops, the logic, or the lack of it, starts to show the cracks. So he keeps the noise at a deafening volume. 100 posts. Think about the stamina required for that level of hatred. Think about the headspace you have to be in to spend your Christmas morning, screaming into the void about Somali immigrants and clean, beautiful coal and why the stock market is the only thing keeping the soul of the nation alive. It's a manifesto of grievance. It's a declaration that 2026 isn't going to be about governing, it's going to be about retribution. Total, unfiltered, digital and physical retribution. I mean, you have to laugh, right? You have to find the absurdity in it because the alternative is admitting that the person behind the most powerful desk in the world spent the most sacred day of the year acting like a banned forum user at 3 a.m. But it's not funny. It's really, really not funny. It's a signal. He's telling us exactly what the plan is. He's showing us the dark future he's building post by post, strike by strike. And if we're not paying attention to the pattern, if we're just treating it like Trump being Trump, then we are missing the most dangerous transition in American political history. We aren't looking at a social media feed. We're looking at a blueprint for a 2026 where the guardrails aren't just gone, they've been incinerated.
Look at the receipts. Look at the actual data versus the digital fever dream he's selling. He's out there screaming about a golden age, capital letters, of course, claiming a 4.3% GDP growth and crediting his trade tariffs like there's some kind of magic wand that fixed the world while we weren't looking. But here's the reality he won't post. Here's the stuff that doesn't make it into the 100-post storm. That 4.3% number, it didn't happen because of some tariff masterstroke. It happened because of a massive shift in the trade deficit, where businesses were panic buying and stocking up before the next round of his tariffs could hit. It's a sugar high fueled by fear of his own policies. And he's taking a victory lap while the Gallup numbers show his approval rating is sitting at a dismal 36%. 36%. That is a second-term low. That is the sound of a country that is exhausted. But if you look at his feed, you'd think he was being crowned. And then we get to Nigeria. This is where the manifesto turns from delusional to outright dangerous. On Christmas Day, not through a press secretary, not through a formal address from the Oval Office, he announces powerful and deadly airstrikes in northwest Nigeria. He frames it as a holy war. He says he's defending innocent Christians from ISIS terrorist scum. And look, nobody is defending ISIS. Nobody. But look at the framing. He's ignoring the fact that the majority of victims of violence in northern Nigeria are actually Muslims. He's ignoring the complex tribal and criminal bandit dynamics that every serious analyst on the ground has been shouting about for years. He just flattens it. He turns a complex geopolitical conflict into a bumper sticker crusade because it plays to the base. It's guns-a-blazing diplomacy via smartphone. He's wishing a Merry Christmas to dead terrorists. I mean, read that again. Think about the moral vacuum you have to reside in to use a holiday of peace on earth to gloat about state-sponsored killing. It's calculated. It's designed to inflame religious tensions not just there, but here.
And he's not alone in this. You've got Secretary Hegseth on X, formerly Twitter, basically acting like a hype man for a war zone, signing off on military strikes with a Merry Christmas and more to come. More to come? Is that a threat? Is that the new standard for U.S. foreign policy? Just vague, menacing social media posts while people are trying to eat Christmas dinner? It's a complete collapse of institutional decorum. They are treating the Department of Defense like a reality TV production. But wait, it gets even more surreal, because while he's ordering strikes and attacking radical left scum, again his words, he's also doing the NORAD Santa tracker calls. And you think, okay, maybe here, maybe with the kids he'll turn it off. Nope, not a chance. He's on the phone with a kid from Oklahoma, and he's talking about bad Santas infiltrating the country. He's literally using a call with a child to test drive his anti-immigration rhetoric. He's telling a 10-year-old that we need to track Santa to make sure he isn't infiltrating. He's talking to another kid about clean, beautiful coal because she's worried about getting a lump of it in her stocking. He can't even let a child have a moment of magic without injecting a slogan. It's pathological. It's this constant, unrelenting need to be on, to be the center of the conflict, to ensure that even the most innocent traditions are bent to his will.
And the Somali comments, resharing posts that attack immigrants, suggesting that Democrats want to turn the U.S. into a version of Somalia? This is the leader of the free world using his platform to spread xenophobic conspiracy theories on a day that is supposed to be about goodwill toward men. He's not leading a nation. He's leading an insurgency against the very idea of a unified nation. He's drawing lines in the sand on Christmas morning and telling half the country they are scum and vermin. And he's doing it because it works. It keeps us talking about him. It keeps the spotlight on the chaos and away from the fact that the actual government was recently shut down, that inflation is still sitting at nearly 3%, and that the economic golden age he's tweeting about feels a lot like a struggle for the people actually paying the bills. He's citing these trillions of dollars in growth from tariffs, but he's not mentioning the cost to the average family. He's not mentioning that his own Commerce Department data, the data he's cherry-picking, shows that core inflation is actually rising. He's just hitting the caps lock key and hoping you don't look at the fine print. He's a salesman selling a house that's currently on fire, and he's yelling about how bright the flames are. And the most terrifying part isn't that he's doing it, it's that he has 100 more posts ready to go tomorrow. This isn't a one-off. This is the new normal. This is the 2026 he's promising us, a world where the news is whatever he types at 3 a.m., where wars are announced with emojis, and where even Santa Claus is a potential infiltrator if he doesn't have the right paperwork. It's exhausting. It's intended to be exhausting, because when you're too tired to fight back, that's when the manifesto becomes the law.
So zoom out with me for a second. We have to look at the pattern, because if you just see 100 posts in isolation, it looks like a temper tantrum. But when you look at the timeline of this administration, especially over this last year, you start to see that chaos is actually the delivery system for a very specific type of control. This isn't just about a busy Christmas. This is the culmination of a year where the president has systematically dismantled the idea of a private presidency. Think back to just last month, early December. Remember that late-night spree? 160 posts in 5 hours. He was resharing AI-generated videos of Elon Musk talking about taking over Minnesota. He was calling sitting members of Congress terrorists. He was renaming the Kennedy Center after himself. It's a relentless daily bombardment designed to wear down your ability to be shocked. If everything is a crisis, nothing is a crisis. If every day is a blitz, then you eventually stop looking for the actual policy change buried in the noise. And the strategy here is classic distract and displace. While we're all hyper-fixated on the radical left scum comments, what else is happening? The Brennan Center just put out a report on the administration's campaign to undermine the 2026 midterms. We're talking about executive orders aimed at show your papers requirements for voters, orders that federal courts are already calling unconstitutional. We're talking about a president who is openly musing about taking exclusive custody of voting equipment. He's using Truth Social to build a narrative that the system is broken, so that when he fixes it by breaking the law, his base is already primed to cheer.
Look at how he's handled the military. He's bypassed the traditional chain of communication so many times, it's now the default. He announced those Nigeria strikes on a platform he owns. Think about the financial conflict of interest there for a second. The commander-in-chief using military actions to drive traffic to his own private equity. But bigger than that, he's reframing the U.S. military as a tool of religious retribution. He spent months setting this up, labeling Nigeria a country of particular concern, threatening to cut off aid, and then boom, strikes on Christmas Day. It's a narrative arc. He's playing the protector of the faith while the Pentagon is left to clean up the diplomatic mess with Abuja. They're calling it the Department of War now in their posts. Not the Department of Defense, the Department of War. That's not a typo. That's a branding shift. It's a move back to a pre-1947 mindset where the goal isn't stability or defense, it's victory and lethality. It's an era where the president can send troops into Los Angeles to quell protests, which he did in June, and then post a campy TV-style promotion of the event on Facebook. He's connecting these dots for us. The strikes in Nigeria, the attacks on Somali immigrants, the threats against the radical left, it's all part of the same America First ecosystem where anyone who isn't a loyalist is an infiltrator. Even Santa isn't safe from the rhetoric. You have to laugh, but you also have to realize he's literally testing the boundaries of what he can get away with saying on a recorded line with a child. This is the 100-day energy he's been chasing since the spring. Remember April? Win after win for America, the lowest border crossings in history. He's obsessed with the idea of a golden age that only he can see, and the more the reality diverges from that vision, the more the stock market wobbles or the more his approval ratings dip to that 36% mark, the more aggressive the digital presence becomes. He's trying to meme a reality into existence where he is the undisputed hero, and anyone pointing at the actual data is a saboteur.
It's a feedback loop of grievance. He posts, the media reacts, the base gets energized, the opposition gets exhausted, and in the middle of it all, the actual functions of democracy, voting rights, military restraint, diplomatic norms are being quietly dismantled. This Christmas blitz wasn't a holiday greeting, it was a progress report on the demolition. And 2026? 2026 is when he plans to finish the job. We've looked at the chaos of the last 24 hours. We've deconstructed the receipts that prove the economic numbers are a house of cards, and we've mapped out the pattern of behavior that's been building for years. But now we need to talk about the cost. We need to talk about what happens when the sun rises on 2026, and we realize that this 100-post manifesto wasn't just a holiday rant. It was the opening bell for the final round. This is about the survival of the very concept of an objective reality, because that's what's really at stake here. When a president can announce military strikes on a private social media platform while simultaneously accusing his political rivals of being vermin, he isn't just communicating, he's terraforming the truth. He's creating a world where truth is whatever the person with the most followers says it is at 4 a.m. And if we lose the ability to agree on basic facts, like the fact that you shouldn't use a military strike as a Merry Christmas punchline, then we lose the ability to hold power accountable. Period. Think about the precedent being set right now.
If we accept that a commander-in-chief can bypass every institutional guardrail, the Pentagon, the State Department, the congressional oversight committees, and launch lethal and deadly strikes based on a personal religious narrative, then what's to stop him from doing the same thing domestically? He's already paved the way. He's already used the military on American streets this year. He's already labeled his fellow citizens as enemies of the state. The line between ISIS in Nigeria and radical left in Seattle is getting thinner and thinner in his rhetoric, and that should terrify every single person in this country, regardless of who you voted for.
We are looking at a 2026 where the Retribution tour becomes the official policy of the United States government. He's telling us that. He's not even hiding it. He's promising a year of justice for the people who tried to destroy him. And who are those people? According to his Christmas posts, it's everyone from the Somali grandmother in Minneapolis to the judge in New York to the average person who thinks that maybe, just maybe, we shouldn't be threatening children with bad Santa investigations. And let's be real about the 36% approval rating. People see that number and they think, oh, he's losing, the country's moving on. No, you're reading it wrong. A leader with a 36% approval rating and control of the military is the most dangerous kind of leader because they know they can't win through persuasion anymore. They can only win through coercion. They can only win by making the other 64% so exhausted, so cynical, and so terrified that they just stop showing up. That's what the 100 posts are for. They aren't meant to convince you. They're meant to break you. They're meant to make you look at your phone, sigh, and say, I can't do this anymore, and put it away while the actual foundations of your life are being rewired. He's talking about a golden age, but look at the actual trajectory. We're looking at a year where the Supreme Court, packed with his loyalists, will likely hear cases that could effectively end federal oversight of elections. We're looking at a year where his border czar, Stephen Miller, is promising vast camps and mass deportations that will make the last decade look like a warm-up act. We're looking at a year where the economy, propped up by the sugar high of tariff-driven panic, is eventually going to hit the wall of reality. And when it hits that wall, who do you think he's going to blame? It won't be his policies. It'll be the saboteurs. It'll be the deep state. It'll be you.
I mean, you have to feel the weight of this. We are standing at the edge of a precipice where the American experiment becomes the American autocracy. And it doesn't happen with a sudden bang, it happens with 100 posts on a holiday. It happens with a slow, grinding erosion of what we consider normal. It happens when we stop being shocked that the President of the United States is resharing AI videos of himself as a divine figure. It happens when we accept that dead terrorists is an appropriate way to wish the world a Merry Christmas. The dark future he revealed for 2026 isn't just about him being in power, it's about the total disappearance of the public square. It's about a future where there is no common ground left to stand on because he's salted the earth. He wants a country divided into loyalists and scum. That's the binary. And in that binary, there is no room for debate, no room for compromise, and no room for the rule of law. There is only the will of the leader. So what do? We start by refusing to be exhausted. We start by calling it what it is every single time. It's not Trump being Trump, it's a systemic attack on the democratic soul of this country. We have to be as relentless in our pursuit of the truth as he is in his pursuit of the Manifesto. We have to look at those 100 posts and see them for what they are, a desperate attempt to stay relevant by a man who knows his time is running out and is willing to burn the house down to keep the lights on for one more night. The 2026 he wants is a nightmare. It's a world of cleansings, retribution, and unchecked power. But that 2026 isn't written in stone yet. It's written in digital ink on a failing social media platform. It only becomes real if we let it. It only becomes real if we stop paying attention to the receipts and start believing the hype.
I'm looking at these posts and I see a man who is terrified of the 36%. I see a man who is terrified of a world where he isn't the main character, and we have to be the ones to tell him the show is over. We have to be the ones to say that Christmas is about peace, not airstrikes, that democracy is about the people, not the posts, and that the future of this country doesn't belong to a manifesto of grievance. It belongs to the people who still believe that goodwill toward men isn't a punchline for a terrorist joke. This is the moment. This is the inflection point. 2026 is coming, whether we like it or not. The question isn't what he's going to do. He's already told us what he's going to do. The question is what we are going to do. Are we going to scroll past the next 100 posts, or are we going to stand up and say, not on our watch, not now, not ever? Because if we don't, if we let this dark future take root, then the next time he posts a Christmas message, there might not be anyone left to disagree with him. And that, my friends, is the darkest outcome of all. Keep your eyes open, stay sharp, and for God's sake, don't let the noise drown out the truth. Because the truth is the only thing we have left that he can't buy, he can't tariff, and he certainly can't post out of existence. I'm Ethan Cole, and I'm not going anywhere. We're going to be here, holding the line, every single day until 2026 and beyond, because the manifesto might be written, but the ending is still up to us.